Hey, hey, how's it going, Darrell?
Welcome, insiders. Welcome to another exciting Wednesday episode of Facebook Live. We'd like for everybody who's attending today, go ahead and put a little blurb in the chat. Tell us where you're currently residing and let us know what branch of service you're in, what years, and we'd like to hear from all of you guys.
Yes, I'm so excited. So I am over here in Louisville, Kentucky, enjoying it, or shall I say it correctly, Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville.
Louisville.
When I worked for the VA, when I became a rating specialist, I had a instructor that was from Louisville, and he made sure every time, it's spelled Louisville, so I don't know why they say Louisville.
I don't know. We're in the South. You know how
We're
it
in the
is.
South, yeah.
We make up our own words.
Wow, we got some people coming in here too right now. Mary, we got Marvin, Semper Fi, brother, Semper Fi.
All right.
California USMC. Hoorah.
Hey, we have Brian here too. What's up, Brian? The big dog in the house.
Kurt, Old Wine, Iowa. I'm coming to you out of Indianola, Iowa right now. Another Iowan in the Army.
Army. Whoops. Yeah, that's me.
But your husband's in the Army, right, Mary?
My husband's in the Army. My dad was in the Army. My brother was in the Army. The only person outside the Army was my grandpa. He was in the Coast Guard.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, everybody else was Army, like everybody else.
My grandfather, I had a grandfather that served during World War II in the Navy in the Pacific, and I had another grandfather who served in the Army during World War II in Europe. And then my dad was a 30-plus year Army man, which is why I joined the Marine Corps, as a matter of fact. Army vet, Stacy Decker, Army.
I see Robert. He's up here in Fort Knox. He's right around the corner from me. What's up, Robert?
J.R. Ewing, 8393, Semper Fi.
We got some Navy people. Chris, thank you so much for your service, Chris. Thank you so much. Oh, Jerry is from Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's where I was born. Whoop, whoop.
Go Navy. Laura, right on. David Taylor, Semper Fi forever. Amen.
Hey, New Braunfels, Texas. What's up? I bet y'all are enjoying. Are y'all enjoying some nice weather? I could go on a tube right now down the river and just float. That sounds awesome right about now.
Go float down the river?
Yeah, did you ever do that?
Yeah, actually, when I lived in Arizona, I went down to Colorado in a float. Yeah, we used to do it every August. In fact, just before I deployed to Saudi Arabia, we had done a float down, and I got a little sunburn, so that I spent probably the first week in Saudi Arabia with bubbling blisters on me, peeling skin.
That's horrible.
Hey, I'd like to give a big shout out to all our Vietnam veterans that are joining us.
Yes.
Welcome home.
Welcome home. Thank you so much for your service.
We have a lot of Marines in here. Hoorah.
Awesome. I see Austin, Texas over here. San Antonio.
San Antonio.
All right.
Let's see some of our retirees come out. 20-plus years.
That's my dad.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. He'd probably still be in if it wasn't for my mom. That's what I always say. He's still a recruiter. He's still recruiting for the Army today.
Army Infantry, Colorado.
Oh, look, another Coast Guard. Coast Guard from Virginia Beach.
Right on. I think if I was in the Coast Guard, Virginia Beach would be a very good place to be.
Hey, what's up, Rick Dowdy? Whoop, whoop. What's up?
Semper Fi. All right, Mary.
Are you ready?
Yeah, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. I am Coach Mary Aaron, and a little bit about me. I started with VACI about a year ago, and how I got into VACI is through my family. VACI actually helped my father and my brother increase their rating. My brother is currently at 100%. My dad is currently at 90%, and I get the honor, you guys, to help my father get to that 100%. And it has been so amazing having my father as a client, right? And trying to have that client role with him. And it's just awesome.
Does he listen to you?
He does, but he missed. So I called him. I'm like, "Hey, Dad, we were supposed to have your strategy session. Did you upload your documents?" No, baby girl. And I'm like, "It's all right, Dad. But that's just how I am with everybody. It's all good. Life comes, whatever. Like, get back on my calendar. I'm always free for you. I'm always available. And so that's just, I treat him like a client. It's whatever, Dad. But anyways, my husband's also in the Army right now, and I have a background in communication disorders and also in journalism. And I finally come to realize that background is because I want everybody to hear the truth and to be able to tell the truth. So that is, and it's so amazing that I get to be here at VA Claims Insiders and honestly live that out. That is just beautiful. I'm so grateful to be here. But you don't need to know anything about communication disorders right now. The reason why we're here is to learn about how to file your claim, or no, I'm sorry, not how to, but what happens when you file your claim. And we got like the most amazing brain here with me, senior veteran coach, Darrell McDonald. Please tell us why the people need to listen to you right now.
Well, first off, Mary, I'm more than just a brain, okay? I have feelings and emotions. Just kidding. Just kidding.
And beautiful face.
I hide it. So I started off life as a Marine. Got out of the Marine Corps after the first Gulf War, kind of fought my way up to 100% on my own. I was actually a high school teacher. I taught high school history in Arizona, and I was also a head football coach in Arizona and in Iowa, both. Yeah, high school football, there's nothing like it.
No.
Just the pure rawness of the sport, it's awesome. I did that until I got my 100%, about 16 years it took me. Quit teaching, went to work for the VA. So, yeah, I know, right? For the VBA, the Benefits Administration. And people do need to know that there is a difference between the Benefits Administration and the Health Administration. So, went to work for the Benefits Administration, started off as a veteran service representative, and we'll get into talking about that a little later. I did that for a couple of years, and I became a rating specialist where I was actually rating veterans' claims. I did that for 6.5 years. And then after that, I became part of the management team at the regional office, at the local regional office. And that's where I was kind of working when I was in charge with the public contact outreach. And I also worked the adjudication team or the post-development team after that. So I've got a pretty good working knowledge of the ins and outs and what happens with your claim after you file it. So I'm looking forward to sharing my knowledge. Now, I did quit working for the VA in 2019, October of 2019. So some things have changed, but for the most part, it's still basic information. And came over to VA Claims Insider because I wanted to hear the veteran's story, not just read it. And I get the opportunity to do that here. Plus, kind of use my knowledge and guide them into what they can do and what they can't do, essentially, which is very fulfilling. So that's my story.
Yeah, so give me a mindset.
I'm sticking to it.
Right. So you said that you were a rater and then you spoke about other positions, but what are the 3 major roles of the VA?
The 3 major roles that are in the VA, the Veteran Service Representative or VSR.
Yes.
Then the RVSR, which is the Rating Veteran Service Representative, also known as the Rater or the Rating Board. And then the third position would be the Adjudicator. And they're the ones that actually release the money or have the money released when you're granted service connection. And when you wake up in the morning after you've been granted service connection, you see that magic dollar amount in your bank account. They're the ones who release those funds.
Cool, awesome. So you've been those.
Yeah.
We got some good news here. Yes. Okay. So what happens to your claim after you press submit?
After you press submit, and when you fill out a 526EZ, which is the form on VA.gov for a new claim or an increased service-connected claim, that claim, once you hit submit, it goes to Janesville, Wisconsin, which is the intake center. And then from Janesville, Wisconsin, if you're a first-time person claiming or filing a claim, they'll go after like your service treatment records, your private treatment records, personnel file, any pertinent records that there may be. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, and we all know how important those files are to have. Veterans try to get their service treatment records. Well, the VA actually they have a way of getting those through the intake center or through the National Archives, that they're just beamed over like automatically. You know what I mean? They're just there. But not automatically. It may take a little bit, a couple of days or whatever. But so from there, after all of that, it goes up into a magic cloud where, like I told you before, sometimes if you look outside on a clear day, you might be able to see that cloud.
I see it.
But not really. So it goes into a cloud, and this is something the VA kind of started a while back. So it used to be when you filed a claim for service connection, your claim would go to whatever station of jurisdiction, also known as SOJ. So it would go, let's say, for example, you lived in Iowa. Your claim would go to the Des Moines regional office, okay, where it would be worked from start to finish. All right. Well, they stopped doing that. Now it goes up into a cloud, and from there it takes all of the regional offices as the regional offices come online for the day. It does what's called a drop. So it'll drop from the cloud, and the way it's referenced more or less is like a different buckets, like a waterfall with different buckets. So at the very top you have the cloud, all right, and then you've got all these regional offices have their buckets underneath there. So when you need claims, you turn on your spigot, claims come to your station, okay? Does that across the board for every station. Now you have in there your claim may go, you may live in El Paso, Texas, but your claim's going to go to Alaska to get worked, or you may live in Arizona and it's going to go to New York to get worked. So there's no guarantee it's going to be worked at your station. All right. Yeah, and that was a big change, and it actually helps speed up the process because unfortunately there are some stations that are a little behind other stations that you have a lot of let's take Waco for example. There are a lot of veterans that live around that Waco area, so they had a lot of claims to work, and they don't necessarily have the manpower to work all those claims. So now it's an even distribution across all the regional offices.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
Well, that has been an adjustment. It's always good to hear good news that the VA is doing, because we ultimately do want the VA to benefit, every single one of our veterans. So that's great. I'm glad we got through that. And then when the station gets it, and you know what, Mary, just to hit on something real quick, I agree. The VA for the most part tries to take steps in the direction of helping out as many veterans as they can help out. Now, with that being said, there are still good offices, there are still bad offices. Okay, it goes both ways. So there are good raters, there are bad raters. There's it just happens that way. It's just like any other field. Okay. So from there, depending on what kind of claim you have, the station now has their buckets. They have their VSR bucket, they have their RVSR bucket, they have their post team bucket, and they turn on the spigot. So, if you have 10 VSRs and they each have to have 10 claims in their queue, but you've got one that's got one claim, you got one that's got two claims. Now those files drop in to even out the buckets across the board as far as the different teams go. Okay, so you may submit your new claim,
It comes into the overnight bucket, drops down into the station bucket. Now it drops down into VSR's what they call work queue. All right. And now this whole process is called the National Work Queue, is what it's called, NWQ, National Work Queue. So now the VSR has your claim. Okay. And there's one of my jobs that I had was actually they have a system called VBMS, or Veterans Benefit Management System.
Okay.
And one of my jobs was to make sure that each VSR had so many claims in their bucket, and each claim only stayed there a certain amount of days. Same way with the RVSR team, their claims only stayed there a certain amount of days. And then the same way with the post team, that their claims only stayed in there a certain amount of days. And those were called timing queue. Okay, TIQ. And each station has a timing queue requirement. All right, and I know I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit, but so we'll get back to the VSR, Veteran Service. Go ahead.
So the VSR gets your claim, and this is the rater. This is who we refer to as the rater.
The VSR is just the Veteran Service Representative. He's the one that gets, or he or she is the one that gets all your evidence and everything ready for the rater. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, so I'm ahead of you.
Yes, you are. You're already getting that claim adjudicated and moved on.
Well, now I know why veterans feel why they feel. I thought we were over here. I got to bring it. All right, let me walk back.
So the VSR's job is to get that claim ready for the rating board, which means they have to gather evidence. They have to go through that evidence to assure that all the information's there. In some stations, the VSR is the one who actually schedules the C&P examinations, because they go through the file, they go through your service treatment records, they see if you have that condition in service. You know, we talk about the Kaluza triangle, right? Right, and what were the three things for the Kaluza triangle?
What were they?
The three things for the Kaluza triangle: you need to have an event in service,
you
need to have a current complaint, right? And then you need to have that nexus statement that links your current complaint to your event in service. So what the VSR is doing is they're looking for that event in service in most cases. All right. And then they're determining if you have a current event by looking at any of your VA outpatient treatment records, any kind of private treatment records you may have submitted. In some cases, merely a statement stating that you have a complaint. And then, so they're setting up that examination so the VA can draw that linking those two things together.
Right. It would be best for the veteran to just go on ahead and gather those documents beforehand and provide them for the VA. Absolutely.
Outside of the VA treatment records, which the VA has access to, the VBA does have access to them. They're called Capri records through the VA, and they're called Vista with the VHA. But it's the same records. And every VSR and RVSR has access to those records through the Capri system.
All right.
All right. So the VSR will also request documentation. So if you file a claim and you get a letter, or you see an e-benefits that they're in evidence gathering stage, which I'll tell you guys right now, I'm not a big fan of e-benefits because there seems to be a lag in there, and it is not always accurate. But they'll sometimes you'll see it in that state for a long time, and then you'll receive a letter from the VA saying they need something. I know there's been a huge uptick on wanting to have DD-214 sent in, but if you didn't provide private treatment records, or you didn't provide, sometimes they'll reach back out to you and request information, which you're absolutely right. You want to do that ahead of time. Get as much information to them as you can ahead of time, because then it saves time on the back end.
Yes, and that is where a veteran coach can definitely provide guidance for you. So if you haven't already gotten with a veteran coach within the company, please go on ahead and sign up. We're here to help you. We're here to help you, guide you to that evidence, and make sure that you have it, so you're not waiting on the VSR to do things for you. You already got things done, and you have proper guidance.
Absolutely, and that's also where those IMOs, those independent medical opinions, come into play. Because if you're submitting a claim and they might have a little bit of problem drawing that link or getting that nexus, you have that IMO right there to provide that evidence to them, so it saves a lot of time. Absolutely.
Definitely. Yes. So an IMO is an independent medical opinion, only come from a medical professional with a proper license. So that is why it's good to know what kind of information you're going for, what you're looking for, where to go get it. So get with a coach. Let's keep moving on. Darrell, what's the next step?
So once the VSR is deemed your file is all ready for the rating board, what happens then, and it might seem a little awkward or a little strange, but once the VSR takes an action on your claim, it goes back up into the cloud. Okay. Which helps with the station timing queue requirements. So then it comes back down. Once you've said it's ready, you mark it. You actually go into the VBMS system and you mark it RFD, or ready for decision. All right. It goes up to the cloud. Now, when it comes back down, it'll come back down to a rating specialist. Now, once again, your claim could have had a VSR from, okay, let's try to follow along with this. You could live in New York. You can have a VSR from California, do the development on your claim, mark it RFD. Now you can have a rating specialist from Minnesota rating your claim. All right, which it's a good thing because it's that checks and balances system again. Okay, so it's not just one station doing it all the way across. Now that RVSR can check over that VSR's work from another station and make sure it's all correct. All right.
Okay.
So in some cases, they may need to request an examination, which the RVSR, according to the manual, the M21-1MR, the RVSR does have that ability to do that and should do it on certain claims, specialty claims. But outside of that, so your claim's ready for decision. It's brought down to a rating specialist. Now that rating specialist will take all of that information that VSR put together. They'll look at your private treatment records. They'll review them. They'll review your outpatient treatment records from the VA, medical examination, your C&P examination, your IMO if you submitted one. All right. They'll take all that information. Then they'll apply law, because there's a lot of law changes throughout the VA. They'll apply law. They'll look at the rating schedule. They'll read the documentation, the C&P examination, and the culmination of all that information. They have a system that's called VBMR, which is Veterans Benefit Management System. R is for rating. Okay. They'll take that information and they'll put it into that VBMR system, and that VBMR system will give them a suggestion on what percentage that veteran should get. Okay. And in some cases, it's pretty solid. That's what they get. But on other cases, for example, mental health conditions, they do have a little flexibility on where they can go with it by reviewing the entire folder. Okay.
Okay. So you said they're going to apply law. So you're saying that they're going to use the evidence and apply law to the evidence, like make it work?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So basically you want an independent medical opinion to come from a medical professional who is knowledgeable of the law. Would that be the wisest thing to do?
A medical professional? No, you don't need to have a medical professional just familiar with, and basically they fill out the DBQ, the Disability Benefits Questionnaire. And the IMOs kind of follow that same. So what you want from a medical professional is purely the medical opinion backed up by research. And yeah, I mean, there are some laws that apply with medical, obviously, but you want to have that established, right?
Got it.
In the IMO, I mean, they can refer.
That's what makes it independent.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let's keep going. So you got your claim in the hands of a rater. All right. Looked at your evidence. Now is it time for that ultimate exam, like the final, the one that determines the rest of your grade?
Hopefully, by the time the rating specialist gets the paperwork. Now,
Mhm.
like I said, most stations, the VSR, the Veteran Service Representative, will request those examinations, so they're there when the rating board gets it. There are some cases like specialty exams, eyes, throat, some specialty examinations that the RVSR should be requesting, or complex exams that the RVSR should be requesting. But ultimately, ultimately, by the time it gets to the rating board, you would hope that you would have all that evidence um, ready for the decision. Unfortunately, in some cases, it has to be sent back. Either it has to be sent back to the VSR for more development. For example, let's say you submit all your claim, you've got everything there, and you do some late flow mail and you're submitting another claim. You submit another 526EZ. That information that you just submitted can delay your claim and send it back to the VSR for development. Okay? And that's why we always say it's best just to do one or two issues at a time, wait for those to be done, and then continue on, because you
Right.
don't want to delay the claim.
I agree. I always say, let's just stick to one thing at a time. I think it's easier for the veteran to keep track of and to move it quicker, because when you're just focusing on one thing, it's like 2 weeks, that's it. And they're just like, that's all? I'm like, yeah, man, that's all you got to do. Let's go on ahead and get the next rating.
Right.
You
And
know?
so on top of that, the RVSR, when they get one of those claims that's multiple issue like that, and trust me, they're out there. Well, we talked yesterday, you and I did. I
Mhm.
had I had a veteran submit a claim that had 800 issues. 800 issues. And all they did was open up a medical book and went A to Z and submitted everything. Now that is the ultimate in spray and pray. That's the ultimate in shotgun effect. It took me hours to do it, but I was able to actually narrow it down to 365 issues.
I feel like I'm getting stressed from hearing that story. Like, I gotta do some.
I'll tell you what, but when you get those claims, when you see those claims, so the way everything works in the VA is off a point system. Okay, you get so many points for doing this, you get so many points for doing this, you get so many points for doing this, and at the end of the day, you have to equate to X amount of points in order to make what's called your production. All right, so in a situation like that, people would put that claim off, work that claim on overtime, rather than trying to work it on during the regular business day. So now you've just delayed your claim even longer, right? I've also known some, and this is going to sound really bad, but I've also known some people who have intentionally moved that claim out of their queue so they didn't have to work it. All right. And the way they do that, so the VA has a policy with rating. You can't defer an issue and deny everything else. So if you defer an issue and you can't grant anything, you have to send that entire file back. So it happens. I mean, it happens a lot, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, we do. I'm sorry, I'm gonna kind of interrupt here, Stephen. You can ask questions in the chat right there. Uh, we do have people watching to try to get to try to answer those questions. If we don't get to it, we'll get to them at the end for sure. Okay. So
I
sorry about that.
I just saw a comment there, like 365 issues, too much? Just that's too much.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, keep going.
um, yeah, so if you keep it to one or two issues, the Raiders love those. They just suck those up, and you know, some of them turn into more than one issue. Diabetes mellitus, for example, for Vietnam veterans, that can turn into a plethora of issues. But they get in there, they get seen, they get done, they get adjudicated, and they get sent out. You know what I mean? It's that rapid. But the RVSRs love working those, especially hearing loss tinnitus. Hearing loss tinnitus. Back when I started working for the VA, we had paper files, and the hearing loss tinnitus claims were usually those real small paper files. So it was like, hey, give me all of those. We had cubicles with files stacked up all around us. It looked like a big wall. So going to that electronic system was the best thing the VA has ever done, honestly. But those hearing loss, tinnitus claims, PTSD claims, any kind of mental health claim, those are huge because those move real quick. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, that's great because PTSD or mental health claim, those are, one of the highest average ratings. And honestly, I feel like the most important claim to file. So awesome. I'm so glad that that's easy and quick for raters to go on ahead and get those benefits given to the veterans that definitely deserve them and need them. All right, so we got the rater. And already looking at your file, please keep going, Darrell. Please keep going.
All right, so the rater's looking at your file, and this goes back to, especially with mental health claims, this goes back to that 0781 or 0781A, making sure you have those filled out in the mental health aspect, because then the BSR can actually do the development on those and verify your stressor, which helps the claim move faster. So I'll get off of that. So now the RVSR has your claim. The RVSR makes a decision on your claim. From there, after they make that decision, it goes back up to the national work queue. All right, back up to the cloud. And then when the post development team or the adjudicators, it comes back down and it hits it goes into one of the adjudicators' files, okay, or their queues, into their work queue. All right, so now what the adjudicator does is the adjudicator will look at what the RVSR has. It'll look at effective date. It'll look at the percentage for the rating decision. They'll look at basically the whole file, okay? And they'll say, okay, yes, the rating decision looks correct. The effective date looks correct. Everything looks correct. And then they'll adjudicate the claim, which means they'll finalize the claim, okay? Once they finalize the claim, if it's a grant, then, obviously, if there's a change in your disability amount, you're going to see money in your account, or you're going to, either way, they're the ones that statement that you get or that letter that you get, they're the ones that put that letter out to you. The grant or denial letter.
So they're the ones you love. Hopefully.
They're the ones you love?
Yeah. They're the ones I love hearing from.
Yeah. Well, for most cases, yeah.
Yeah, most cases. The good cases.
Good cases, yeah, the ones that.
So when a rater gets a claim, let's recap. What are the first three things that a rater looks for in a claim?
They're going to look to make sure that the C&P exam is complete. If you're going for musculoskeletal condition, that all the range of motion findings are there. Okay. They're going to look for that nexus statement if it's required. They're going to look for that nexus statement saying what they look for is it's saying it's at least as likely as not, more likely than not. Those are grants. If it says less likely than not, or without resorting to mere speculation, those are denials. Okay, so they're looking for that either grant or denial on that C&P examination.
Okay.
All right.
One more.
Oh, one more? And they're looking to make sure you spelled your name correct. No, I'm just kidding. They're making sure that all evidence is complete. For example, service treatment records, you have the entire period of service, and some veterans have multiple periods of service, so you got to make sure all those service treatment records are there. They're looking to make sure that all, basically it's 3.159 duty to assist. Mm-hmm. They're looking to make sure that the duty to assist has been fulfilled. We've gone after private treatment records so many times. You're going after federal treatment or federal records so many times. Well, actually, you have to go till you receive a negative response on federal records. So they're just making sure that the file is complete.
Awesome. All right. Here's a great question that I always want to share with my veterans. What's the ultimate factor that influences the rater's decision to issue a C&P exam?
What is the ultimate?
Yeah, how does a veteran ensure that he or she gets a C&P exam?
Solid information. Know what's in your service treatment records, okay? Know what conditions can be potentially secondary to already service-connected conditions. All right, know the rating schedule. Know that tinnitus is only 10%, that you're not going, you're not going to go any higher than that 10%. Okay. basically know what you're eligible for. Okay. And if you don't know what you're eligible for, just like you said earlier, get in touch with the company, reach out to a coach, get that information. The coaches in this company are very well versed on what they can do and what they can't do. All right. How to get a Nexus letter, Rob Taylor, they can tell you how to get a Nexus letter. They can provide you with all that information. So, and I know that Eric just put up the link for membership on the screen. Okay. So that information is important.
Right. So I kind of want to address a little bit what I was asking earlier, because I don't know if I made it clear, but because somebody just asked, I'm in the VA system and see a primary psychiatrist and psychologist. So remember earlier when we were speaking about independent medical opinion, if you are in the VA system, the VA cannot make an independent medical opinion because the VA knows the VA's laws. So you have to seek that Nexus statement from an outside source. So you do want an independent medical opinion. And like Darrell just said, a coach can definitely guide you in that direction to help you figure out where to go get that independent medical opinion.
Yeah, the VA won't do it because they consider it a conflict of interest. So
Right.
so they won't do it for you. Yeah, so great point, Mary. Awesome.
Yeah. So let's keep going. What information does a rater look for in a C&P exam to make that rating?
Yeah, so like I said before, if it's a musculoskeletal, they're going to look for range of motion findings. Okay, and if it's a back, it's just the back. If it's the cervical spine, the neck, that's just the neck. But now, if it's like legs, knees, ankles, wrists, they're going to look for range of motion findings on both sides. Okay, so it gives them that point of reference essentially. All right, so they're going to look for all the range of motion findings. Hearing loss, tinnitus, they're going to look for the decibels, where you're at as far as the hearing loss goes. Tinnitus, they're going to look for whether your ringing in the ears was a product of service, which would be the nexus that the doctor provides. Let me see what else. Mental health conditions, they're going to look for those symptoms to make sure the symptoms are all marked off, the appropriate ones. They're going to look for that nexus. All right. They're going to look for the diagnosis, number one. And with mental health, I don't want to say it doesn't matter the diagnosis because it's all the same symptoms, but don't get hung up on the diagnosis because they're all rated the same way under the same symptoms. So a 70% for PTSD is still a 70% for major depressive disorder, or you know what I mean? It's still the same way. So they're going to look for that information, the core of information that they need. They're going to make sure that the DBQ is filled out completely. Okay.
Could you tell me what DBQ stands for?
What's that?
What does DBQ stand for?
Disability Benefits Questionnaire. Okay. And by the way, the VA did, and I saw a question in chat earlier, but the VA did. Originally, you were allowed to submit DBQs as evidence as part of a fully developed claim. Then they went away from it, and now they're bringing it back. So you can use DBQs now. I would advise you though that if you're going to use a DBQ, if you're going to use a DBQ, to make sure it's filled out correctly. Most doctors are not versed on how to fill out DBQs, so it can be that slippery slope that you get into with having your general practitioner fill out a DBQ for you for a condition.
Right. Okay. So let's loosen up a little bit. We just got a whole bunch of knowledge that was dropped on us. I feel like that was awesome. That was awesome, Darrell. I feel like I know now what happens when the veterans press submit. Because I'm not a veteran. I've never pressed that button. And so I'm like, well, I just assumed it goes up to the cloud, drops in somebody's desk, and then So to actually know like the terms VSR, RVSR, and when to use them, I think that's pretty cool. You know, I know a little bit more about the insides. So thank you so much for sharing that. But, oh, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, for those of you who follow e-benefits, so if you see that they're ready to make a decision, then you see it jump back to a stage prior, it's usually because either the RVSR, well, let's go. It's usually either because the adjudicator had to send it back to the rating specialist to have a change made, or it's with the rating specialist has to send it back to the veteran service representative for more development. So that's why you see it jumping backwards in e-benefits. But like I said before, I'm not a huge fan of e-benefits, so I just take it for what it's worth.
Right. So what rater's eyebrow raise like when looking at claims?
Oh, one of the big things, if you're claiming something that you are not entitled to, for example, I've had veterans from the 90s and from the 2000s who never served in Vietnam or around Agent Orange file for Agent Orange exposure. All right, so or one of the better ones would be mustard gas exposure. And mustard gas, the last time they used mustard gas was World War One. So I'm pretty sure we don't have any WW1s, you know, the war to end all wars. We don't have any of those veterans left. So, so if you're going to file a claim, file it and that's why it's important you get with somebody who's in the know. File a claim for benefits that you're going to potentially win. Okay. Don't file for things that are definitely going to be a denial as part of that shotgun effect, because you're just taking the time from another veteran who's waiting for their decision to be made.
That's true. Which gets me to my next question. What was your slowest claim? Like, how long did it take for you to rate your slowest claim that you ever received as a rater?
Well, like I said earlier, it was that 800 issue claim,
Yeah.
and I actually took it as a challenge to rate it, but I was unable to rate it because unfortunately most of the issues were deferred and needed more development essentially. So I had to return the entire file. But you know, I've rated 25 issue claims. I've you know, you name it.
How long did you that 810 or 365? What did you say?
I spent hours on that 365 issue claim, hours and hours and hours and hours. And if the veteran would have been more specific, you know, on what they're claiming and maybe just hit a couple of things at a time, it would have moved their claim through the system a lot quicker, and they would have got decisions on decisions on decisions. You know what I mean? So
I'm curious, did you take it as a challenge because you really wanted to see what you could get that veteran rated for?
yeah, absolutely. And see, that's one of the big misnomers with the VA. You know, there are some, just like any other job, there's some people out there who are just doing it for a paycheck. You know, that's all honesty. There's just people doing it for a paycheck. And you can see that through the regional offices. But there are other people out there who truly do care about the veteran and are trying to get the veteran, trying to figure out ways that they can get the veteran either the help they need or the service connection they deserve. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that way across the board. And a lot of that has to do with, you know, different law changes that come down from Congress or regional office policies and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily in the hands of, you know, one of my biggest issues as a rating specialist is I saw, God, if you just had this link, if you just had this piece of paper, if you just had this evidence, you'd get service connected. But as a rating specialist, there were not many times that you could reach out to that veteran and say, hey, do you have this? Just submit this. I'm going to service connect you. You know what I mean? So it's unfortunate. And that's why I'm happy to be here, because now I can take that knowledge and I can tell that veteran, hey, all you need is that Nexus statement. All you need is that. And a lot of that information, the RVSR's way of telling you what you need is all in that rating. It's in that rating decision and code sheet that you have to call and ask them to email it to you. But it's right there. It tells you what you need. This is what you need to be granted, essentially.
Right. Wow. But I'm glad that you said that, because sometimes I paint the picture of the VA, because to me, it's like when I hear veterans and I hear about how long they've been working with the VA, 20 years, trying to get their rating up, I kind of paint the picture of a bad guy,
Mhm.
But like you said, there are some good people like you, Darrell, who was taking the time to actually try and figure out, how can I really rate this person? But yeah, like you said, we're here now. Please spread the word, to your veteran friends, that there's people out there that are looking out for veterans, and there are great people out here, and the coaches on VACI, we're all here looking out for y'all. We want the best for y'all. We're gonna guide you in the right direction, drop some knowledge anytime you're in our presence, and drop some wisdom. Man, so many powerful things going on in the company right now, within our community. So get involved.
Absolutely. Coffee with the coaches in the morning, the classes that are provided, the YouTube that's provided, Facebook that's provided. I mean, it when I decided to come, when I decided to apply for this, to work for this company, I did my research. I looked at it and I was like, wow, you're talking, and I'm just going to put in a little plug. You're talking over a 90% success rate of getting a 30% disability or higher, a raise. I mean, to me, that's phenomenal. That's
I mean, I'm
absolutely
girl,
changing
was that too corny?
lives. Changing lives. Now, Mary, real quick, let's talk. She lost control. Let's talk about what happens when you're denied, okay? And I've been seeing some conversation in the chat about it. So if you do receive that denial letter, now with the AMA, the Appeals Modernization Act, you have several routes you can go, all right? And I've heard it say that the appeal route is where claims go to die, and I tend to agree with that. You have other options. You have higher level review, HLR, which is taking the evidence you've already submitted, but you know that it wasn't used, or you have a good IMO that gives a proper nexus and gives you everything you need. That higher level review is going to get somebody who's a more experienced, used to be called decision review officers, handled all the appeals. But now you're going to get those people above the radar who have more experience looking at your claim. And we've actually had a lot of success with higher level reviews as a company. So if you don't have that and you need to get a nexus or you need to get something, you get that, you do that supplemental claim, okay, where you can submit new evidence, and you get that new evidence submitted and move that claim along, and that's where that rating decision comes in handy, because you can see what that new evidence is that you need. All
Awesome.
right.
Yeah, HLR and supplemental. The fight's never over, right? We always say the fight's never over until you stop fighting, or until you get that 100% in P&T, which I love getting good news about those. And that's another reason why I love working with VACI. It's like every single day I get good news, and I can celebrate every single day about somebody's life being changed, because that's what's going on. All right. Were there any other questions in the chat? I
I
forgot.
know this has been so much fun. I've just kind of lost track of time, but if it's all right with Eric, if we don't have to, we can answer some questions. We don't necessarily have to stop at noon, Central Standard Time. I'm all for it.
All right, whatever.
All right. Is it okay to file a medical condition that was found outside of service that was caused by being in the service but wasn't notated while in? Blanket answer would be yes. It is okay, especially if you can relate it to an already service-connected condition. That would be your best bet, or a presumptive condition. If you have a presumptive condition from either Gulf War, Afghanistan, Vietnam, one of those presumptive conditions, then absolutely. It's all about that nexus.
All right. Oh, we were speaking a little bit about HLR and supplemental, and I also just want to remind everybody that we offer classes to go a little bit more into depth on HLR, supplemental, even filing your claim on VACI, or get in touch with your coach, and you can find out more information about the classes. And but we do offer classes to offer more information about each step of the way, which I absolutely love. And at every single one of these classes, I always learn something new because the veterans get to talk. They get to share their experiences, share their knowledge with us, and they're wise. So I always learn something new.
Danny Hilliard, I have a C&P exam for hearing loss, but not for tinnitus, and was denied tinnitus. They said not service connected, but never sent me a denial letter for it, explaining why they. All right. So with hearing loss, a claim for hearing loss, as far as the VA is concerned, a claim for hearing loss is also a claim for tinnitus. So when they do the examination, when the audiologist does the examination, they're going to do both, whether you've claimed tinnitus or not. What I'm really surprised about is that they didn't address it in the denial letter. That is definitely an error. If they're going to deny it and you know you're denied for it, they have to explain to you why you're denied. So that would be a good one for either a higher. Well, actually, that would be a good subject case for either a higher level review or a supplemental claim. If you can do a supplemental claim and provide that evidence showing that you have it and showing that it's connected to service, that would be the best way to go with it, honestly. Yeah, that's how I would handle it.
Hey, so I just have a question. If I lost my claims denial letter from years ago, how do I go about getting that if I don't know the dates of the claim? Does he need to know the dates?
No, in all actuality, Eric Reese just put out a message, and I believe he did it on Facebook, where you can go and you can request. Right now, you can request your service treatment records through, or actually, you can request your complete file, your C file or claims file from the VA, and it's down to 6 to 8 weeks now. And that'll have your denial letter. That'll have your all your stuff. It's C&P exams. It'll have everything but the routing slips from where your claim has been moved around. And I'm trying to think of what that form was. I wrote it down.
Oh, they did in the chat.
What's that?
They already posted it in the chat.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so check out the chat.
J.R. Ewing, we just answered that. All right. Hey, Frank, who's one of our regulars on Coffee with the Coaches in the morning, he had a question too about what happens if the VA can't receive your or doesn't have your service treatment records. Unfortunately, in 1973, there was a fire in the National Archives at the Records Management Center in St. Louis. And there were a lot of files that were destroyed. For example, it was all Army veterans up till that point, and it was Air Force veterans A through Hubbard were destroyed. So sometimes they don't have those, but there are still ways around that. One of the simple ways to start with would be doing a hearing loss claim and getting that hearing loss tinnitus, which they can do just based on your MOS, and get things rolling that way. They do when they request your records, they have to wait till they get a negative response, but they do flag the system. So if any records show up during that time, then they can match those up, prepare those up, and then your claim can be reconsidered at a later date. What I would suggest, if we have any new veterans that are on the call right now or people who are going to be getting out, is to get a copy. Get a copy of those service treatment records and at least have a copy on hand. That way you have them, okay? And you can look through them, and that's the best guide you can have, okay? I was seen for my knee in service. My knee hurts me now. Let's get a claim going for that. All right?
All right. Do you want to go really quickly into this? Just give a quick answer. What is the difference between an appeal and a supplemental claim?
An appeal, especially if you're talking legacy appeals, are those ones that take forever. They're the ones that are out there 3, 4, 5 years. You know what I mean? So an appeal now, basically, you go through the system and you're able to sit in front of the BVA or the Board of Veterans Appeals and see a judge and talk about your claim, essentially. But just know that once a judge makes a decision on a claim, pretty much final. All right. Now, a supplemental claim, you're able to submit new medical evidence and get that medical evidence that you need, or whatever that nexus statement that you were missing. All right, and that's why they changed it. So now you have that higher level review too. If you know that you've submitted that evidence and it wasn't considered, that's that higher level review comes into play. And I do want to say one other thing about higher level reviews. If you have an IMO saying that you're 70% for a medical or mental condition, or 30% for another condition, and the VA comes back and they underrate you, you can still do an HLR for that condition and say, look, I submitted credible medical evidence showing I'm at this percentage, but you only gave me this percentage. Okay? But they all are supplemental, higher level review, and the appeals. They're all types of appeals.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Darrell. That was awesome. I learned so much from you. Anytime that you speak, I'm always learning, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the people watching have learned so much as well.
The greatest part about this company, though, is I am not the exception. There's you know what I mean? Everybody in the company, I learn things every day from veterans and from fellow my peers. I learn things every day, and it's just awesome.
Exactly. It's so awesome to be a part of it. It really is. Everybody watching, if we didn't get to your questions, please send us a message on Facebook and someone will answer you. So please stay engaged with us. Sign up for a coach if you need some guidance. But also take advantage of all the free resources that the company has offered you, and take advantage of the community too that we offer, because the community is really what makes everything worth it all. So thank you so much, Darrell, for everything, for all of the knowledge that you have shared with us today. And thank you to all of our service members who
George Jones doesn't want us to leave.
No, I can't take it anymore. I need some tea.
Hey, you know, once you become an elite member, you have access to a lot of stuff that will answer a lot of questions. Don't hesitate to reach out on Facebook. If you're a member, reach out on Facebook or reach out on the mastery group. There's a plethora of other veterans out there who are going through the same thing you're going through or something similar. So they're you know, there's good wisdom out there. Plus, they're monitored. Coaches are on there. Senior veteran coaches like myself are on there. All kinds of good information out there. If the DBQ examiner did not check mark the box and put it in the remark section, typically what would happen is the RVSR would send it back to the C&P examiner to get verification, or to get what's the word I'm looking for? To make sure that box gets marked. Okay, so that's where that delay comes in, and the rating specialist goes back to the C&P examiners quite often because they forget to mark stuff. So it's got to be marked in the box. It can be written in the section, but once again, that all depends on what rating specialist you get, and you know, unfortunately. All right, thank you, Mary. I enjoyed the time.
Same.
And I'm still drinking coffee.
I need to go get mine. You wore me out with all this knowledge. I gotta go rest my head. All right. Well, I just hope everybody feels more confident about pressing that submit button, and we'll get the rating that they deserve once they do, which I'm sure they will, because remember, the fight's not over until you stop, or until you reach that 100% P&T, if you deserve it.
Don't stop. Don't stop. The VA will give in before you do. Don't stop.
All right.